It's gonna go live in a second. Here we go. There's the beginning part. Hey, what the?
What the
That's not it.
hell? Throwing logos up.
Here we go.
This is the INKPULP podcast.
Feels like we haven't not done this in a long time, Shawn. But apparently, according to the last time that I looked, it's been a while.
It's probably been, what, 2 weeks?
What is it? Why do you keep missing out on these things? Why do you keep abandoning your own thing?
Oh, you're going to put it on me?
I'm always at the ready. Thursdays, I'm coffeeed up and I'm ready to go.
I'm here, man. I'm here.
You don't particularly care to keep up your own
Oh,
stuff.
that's
I
not
don't know
true.
what it
I'm
is.
here late. I'm at my studio
Your
late.
level of commitment to me, I feel like, is inconsistent.
No, you're wrong.
Arrow, what's going on, man? How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. I heard back from a pal of mine, good friend, great artist, Johnny
Yeah.
Moore. He says he listens to InkPulp a
Yes.
lot.
Yeah.
And he says that the worst episode, and I'm reading between the lines because these aren't the words that he used, but the worst episode is the one with Dan Panosian in it.
Yep.
He
Yep.
was saying how that was enjoyable, but not really. It was less of a podcast, more of a train wreck, I think,
It was
if I
like
could dissect what he was saying.
preschool. That's what I equated to. It
It
was like
was preschool. He
we were
also,
the teachers and Dan was the toddler.
I wouldn't go that far, but here's the point that he wanted to make.
I went too far. Okay.
Yeah, there's there's a tiny bit. Yeah, you're giving us too much credit. With the point that
Oh,
he was
okay.
making was that I don't think Dan was being very genuine. He was being the opposite of genuine, disingenuous.
Eric,
Yeah,
we've known Dan for a little while. You longer
yeah,
than me.
yeah.
There is no such thing as genuine Dan.
There are times when he is. It's rare.
I
It's
haven't
like a
seen him.
Bigfoot sighting. It's
A Bigfoot sighting.
but it does happen, and I wish that from time to time when he's hanging out in this podcast, he would turn it on. Anyway, less about Dan, more about you and me, the true professionals of this podcast. By the way, if you haven't already, please go visit Shawn Crystal's online instructional schools located at Shawn
INKPULPinstruction.com.
INKPULPinstructions.com. Now,
Thank you,
I
Eric.
don't know if the discount sale has already subsided. I don't know if that's something you're only offering during a particular Black Friday or Cyber Monday. Can you
Well,
talk about that a little bit?
yeah, so when this comes out, that sale will be gone. Well, maybe not. I might keep it up a little bit longer.
Okay.
But what we did, we've never had a yearly subscription option. It's been a monthly subscription option or a pay-per video. We just didn't have enough material
Mm-hmm.
that I felt to offer yearly
Mm-hmm.
subscription. But now with 22 episodes out and 2 coming out every month again starting in February, it seemed like an opportune time to create and announce the yearly subscription.
Okay.
And so this would be $249.99, which is a discount from spending $24.99 a month. But
Mm-hmm.
for the holidays, we're offering it for $199.99.
That seems like first of all, strategically, that's a very smart move, and it makes. I was about to say that seems like a pretty decent deal. It makes it semi-approachable for everybody.
I hope so. That's my
Can
hope.
you talk in brief about a couple of things that you're offering on the couple of episodes, couple of
Oh,
installments?
for
What do you
sure.
refer to them as? What are they called?
Lessons.
Shenanigans? Oh,
Lessons.
lessons.
Oh, yeah, videos or lessons. So we've
Video
got
lessons.
22 of them out.
Yeah.
We have started the level system now where there's foundational level courses, which if you think of this in terms of like art school, foundations are your freshman year courses. That's
Sure.
getting you the ground knowledge. And
Mm-hmm.
then we have the core level studies, which is like you're getting into your major, you're a
Mm-hmm.
sophomore or junior. And then we
Mm-hmm.
have the advanced level studies, which is like a senior and you're in your senior project. But
Okay.
we also created a fourth one called business studies. Because I
Mm-hmm.
mean, when I ran the department in SCAD and I built it with my friend Pat, we time and time again pitched a business class because
Interesting.
we had spent so much time networking, going to cons, and learning that like all these things we never knew in art school. So we were like, this is really important for their professional development,
Okay.
and the school just rejected it every time.
Was oh well, I don't want to get into why they rejected it. I'm just glad that you picked it up again and now are offering it in your course because I
Yeah, I
think
mean, if there's one area I really like, I'm learning about it now at 50, but I wish I would have known a lot of this earlier on. And I think it's an area where young professional artists or wannabe young professional artists
Mhm, mhm,
really need to start thinking. And especially in this landscape we're living in today,
mm,
where if you have the option to just be self-published, self-funded, self-everything,
mhm, mhm,
and if we can get these business courses on Ink Pulp Instruction lined up, we have 2 lessons out now. We Alan did those, and it is the art of podcasting. So the first lesson is all pre-production.
mhm.
Everything you need to know
Yeah,
about recording equipment,
yeah,
software,
yeah.
cameras, audio, all of it.
Alan's the
And
perfect guy
then
for that. Yeah.
the second one is post-production, which is editing. Where are you going to put this podcast? How are you going to get it out
Mm,
there? All that stuff.
mhm,
But yeah, I
mhm.
mean, I want to grow that significantly because I think it's an area that is overlooked and extremely important.
I forgot to put that little overlay on. That's gonna look embarrassing and unprofessional later.
What the
Anyway,
what overlay, the logo?
the little ink pulp thing. I don't know if you can see it. It turned off for a brief second. I don't know why it did.
Yeah, I saw it popping on. Yeah,
It's probably because, by way of consistency and dedication, you have not been showing a lot to this podcast. You've been, I would say, very, very busy with all of this instructional stuff. So it's been a while since we cranked up the machine. We can't always expect it to turn on each and every single time. And the fact that it did this time without sputtering to a complete halt, you
we did
know,
we did it.
pretty, pretty substantial. It's pretty freaking awesome. All right. So Alan's covering the business side
No,
of,
no, just the podcasting one.
oh, that's the
Yeah,
podcast.
we
All right, but
released those.
I thought you said that when it comes to the instructional stuff, he's also got a couple of entries in
Yeah,
there,
he
right?
does. He does. He did
Okay.
a we have a intro to Procreate for comics and an intro
Oh,
to
nice.
Clip Studio Paint for comics. And we have Illustrator and Photoshop coming, and I've got a figure drawing one coming, a two-parter.
That is so cool. I'll say this: if there is sort of like if there is a a person-shaped cutout of what it means to be a professional and also to be multidimensional, I would say that Alan fits that hole pretty nicely, right?
Agreed. Agreed.
And that he's pretty much going to carry you throughout. If you have any moniker of success,
Yeah, I mean,
he
it's
is.
all
It's
on Alan.
because yeah,
Yeah.
it's because he's carrying you. So kudos to you, Alan. Thank you so much for helping my buddy Shawn out. He would be in a giant hole in the ground if you weren't coming to hang out and put a polish on everything that he does. Thanks, Alan. Thanks, Shawn. That's awesome.
Awesome. Awesome.
All right. So what are we talking about?
I've got,
Then shilling for your shiz. What are we talking about today?
what did you just say?
Now that we're done shilling for your shiz.
Oh, wow, Eric, you're going a little hip hop on me there, buddy. I'm not used to
I
that.
don't say it convincingly,
No.
but I know my own.
All right, I've
I know
got
the stuff.
something I don't understand.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's okay. So
How many
let's.
things do you not understand? Like
I don't
genuinely.
understand. There's a lot I don't
All right, all
understand.
right. So this is one of
We
the
have
things.
episodes, volumes of episodes to talk about.
We're lined up. Yeah.
All right, so let's rewind like 3 weeks ago,
3 weeks.
maybe
Okay.
4 weeks ago, and let's look at the Twitter scape.
What
And
did
before Elon, let's look at the Twitterscape. All I saw was people
before the
complain.
takeover, before
Right.
everybody lost their minds?
All
Yeah.
I saw on Twitter was complain about the toxic environment of Twitter.
Yeah.
Right, right. Okay.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
then
Okay.
Elon Musk comes along, and now
Yeah.
everyone's angry he's going to mess up Twitter, which they hated.
Hmm.
It's crazy. And then then there's
I think what they're suggesting, and I'm going to give them the benefit of a doubt. This is
uh,
actually a very, very good challenge on a personal sense because I often lean if there's a side of the fence, I'm often on your side, but I try to understand it from the other perspective. I
Yeah.
think what they're suggesting is that now that he's on there, if it
Hmm.
was bad before, it's going to get even worse.
But right, and I mean, I understand that side of the argument. But if you hated it, why do you care if it's going to get worse? Now they're going to
If
leave.
you
Now they're leaving Twitter, the exodus. But no one now they're on Twitter talking about where else they are.
Oh yeah, yeah. So I think, and again, speaking for the other side, I don't know for sure because it perplexes me as well. I think it's because they believe that if they complained enough back in the day about whatever bullshit thing that comes in their stupid heads, right?
Yeah, yeah.
They believe that they can impact change. But they knew that the
Where
awful reality was they knew that it was bullshit, right?
Yeah, I believe so.
So I would only, I mean, that's me being, very generous about how smart some of these, but I can think of two or three people right off the top of my head. I'm not going to say their names, but I know they're not smart enough. But generally, let's be optimistic. Let me be less cynical. I
Okay.
would think there's a lot of people out there who are on that part with that argument in hand to say, I think that just by raising this to the top, I believe that I could impact change, if knowing full well that the thing that they're being complaining about wasn't really a big deal. It just made them feel uncomfortable. People don't like feeling uncomfortable,
Well,
and so
that's the bigger issue.
yeah, and so like they thought that there was an avenue for them to be able to sort of voice their uncomfortability and that something would actually be done about it because echo chambers being what it was, they could chase people off. And here comes this guy that says, I admire your echo chamber, but it shouldn't be exclusively your echo chamber. It should be multiple people's echo chambers. And
Mhm.
that just freaks some people out, man.
Yep.
It just makes
Yep.
people weird. The part that weirds me out about, and here's again the contradiction and sort of the I don't know, the hypocrisy of people, especially the ones who were freaking out about him taking over, pre-takeover, was that they celebrated this dude a long time ago because they were aligned to
Well,
his
that was my next
worldviews
point.
and his and
Right.
potential
I
of
mean,
his
he
the
created
values. They love the guy, right?
yeah, I mean, he
And then
popularized the electric car. He's a brilliant
absolutely,
scientist.
and and then he said, you know what, thank you, but I also believe that because this is the town square, there's value in a space like this, and it won't maintain its value if it ever is one version of perspective. There's plenty of
Right.
people who are like, oh my gosh, you're inviting hate speech and blah blah. And by the
Right.
way, they spent half a decade, if not more, trying to redefine what hate speech is because again, people don't like feeling uncomfortable. Right now, anything can be defined as hate speech. Everything can be
Mhm.
microaggressions. Everything
Mhm.
can be something that you can be totally be pissed off by and expect somebody else to do it for do something about it for you. Anyway,
Yes.
so you couple all of that together, right? One more. Here's the one that really sticks out. It makes me laugh. At one point, when people were moaning, not him, not like Musk specifically, but generally when people are like, when the counter argument was like, this place is not as open to conversation. This place only favors one kind of perspective, one sort of tune from a specific side of the aisle. Blah 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 blah. Those people would then turn around and go, well, you could always leave and go
Right.
someplace else and come up with your own shit, right?
Mhm.
Fast forward to like right now, and things are the things to turn out the way they have, and they are fighting tooth and nail to like find a way to put it back to the way it was. If they held those standards, if they kind of reflected it back to themselves again, a muscle and exercise that they are not comfortable doing. It's being reflective and saying, "What did I say before?" Right?
Mhm.
If they held that exercise, the mirror to themselves, and said, like, "Well, if I'm saying that 3 years ago, 5 years ago, 6 years ago, whatever, however long it was, why is that not applicable to me now?" Right?
Right.
It's because when you have an advantageous position, you can spout all sorts of shit. The moment something challenges that, and now there's no going back. There's no like, oh, there's no recourse for it. these people do what they do. They do the only thing that they know how to do, which is bitch and moan and tell people how broken it is, but they refuse to do something about it, or they refuse to leave. I've seen so much of that where they're like, I hate this place. This place is so poor, and blah 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 blah. And like you're still there talking about it, as
Right.
if staying there is
That
going
was
to,
my point. That was my point.
as if something you're going to. And somebody on online was like, this could be part of their business, bro. I'm all like, yeah, okay, it could be, but that's represents like what small minority of people
Well,
who still need to use Twitter as their business part of their business model. And then
right.
secondly, if it's so bad, then wouldn't you think it would impact your business to the negative? So what do you do in maintaining business? It's just a lot of cope from people who
Yeah.
don't know how to cope with anything. Right.
Right.
So they try to think of like they're going to another platform. And I'm like, that's awesome. I love finding new places to go and like finding
Right.
new
Right.
communities. But here's the thing. There isn't another community over there of brand new people who are, who don't know about the kind of stuff that we do, right?
Right.
There's a bunch of people moving over and saying like, now we're gonna go infest this place instead, and
Right. And we're
you
gonna
know
make our bubble over here. But the
exactly,
problem
and
is that the platform they went to is now crashing because it can't handle.
I don't know. I'm hoping that will motivate the platform to get it up to speed,
I'm
whatever it
sure it
may
will.
be.
I
Whatever,
could see from the beginning, like everyone leaving, they're not gonna leave. Now
sure,
they're gonna have 2 things to complain about. Well, 3
sure.
because they have Facebook, or 4, Instagram, because they all complain about Instagram going to Reels and how that's fucking their lives up. But yeah.
I'm telling you this, and let's zoom out a tiny bit in regards to like personality types, right?
Mhm.
Did you know? And I want to be able to point to a study, and I can't remember where I read the article. So if anybody online, if anybody listening to this knows which one I'm talking about, or if I'm missing a specific nuance to this that adds either, a certain layer of understanding, or if I'm missing it completely, please go into the comment section and correct me. We'd love to hear back from me. But here's the thing. Did you know that habits, especially the negative ones, there have been studies and by which they can actually see the the bad version to describe it is like these neural pathways that are burned into your brain
Yes.
that you can see it, they can observe it,
Yes.
right? They can
Yes.
actually physically observe it
Yes.
where these kinds of patterns, these kinds of habits come from,
Right.
right? My point there is that the pathway isn't exclusive to just good or bad. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's talking about a habit forming kind of attitude, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
The people who speak who so what all it says is you can either develop a habit of looking at things, pessimistically or
Mhm.
optimistically.
Mhm.
So these people who like go to some place, to your point, these people who go like, I'm gonna bitch and moan, but I'm not really gonna do anything about it. I'm gonna go someplace else and bitch and moan.
Mhm.
I'm gonna go to some other place and bitch and moan. You ever hear people like these guys just can't help themselves? And I'm like, I don't think they can.
Yeah, you're
They've
right about
built a
that.
habit of like moaning and complaining about
Right.
everything,
Right.
but not really with an intent of fixing, not really with an intent of like, hey,
No.
I want to make something better for myself, you know?
Right. Right. Right.
Um,
Because there's no
yeah, and
action.
that's why I find it kind of annoying, but also it's like social media. So I just shrug and I'm
Well,
like,
right, but you just put it into perspective. It's social media. That I think that's that there's an issue there.
yeah,
Um,
I was talking to my buddy, my buddy Sam Lou. By the way, Sam, who has been, I don't think he cares about me mentioning it. Sam, who has been a director over there at Warner Brothers Animation for what I feel like to be like 2 or 3 decades now, right?
mhm, mhm.
Since Warner Brothers as an entire entity has sort of had to ramp down some of their productions, Sam is on a, what do you call it? Sam is on
Hiatus?
hiatus for the time
Okay,
being between now and whenever it is that they decide to pick up production again. But I want to say this to
okay.
anybody, those who are in the position of being able to bring on a guy with decades worth of experience, putting out some of the most successful franchises under the sun, everything from Superman to Batman to Justice League and everything in between. I think you should go hire my buddy Sam Liu. Anyway, he's available. Um, go reach out to him. Find him on social media. He's amazing. Here's the thing that I want to help highlight that he said to me the other day, or we were talking about the other day. Like, there's only so much social media can do for you
Yeah.
when it comes to your career.
Right.
And as a matter of fact, it's more detrimental to you if you take the habitual pathway of like complaining and moaning.
I agree with
You know
that.
what I mean? Because imagine
Well,
a
let
potential
me challenge that
employer.
idea. I want to challenge that
Yeah,
idea. The
yeah.
first thing you said was there's only so far you can go with social media in your career.
Mhm.
Yet we know of people whose entire careers have exploded because of social media. They were
Yeah.
hired because of their social media presence, not because of
Uh-huh.
any experience.
Mm-hmm.
They
Mm-hmm.
went to immediate success
Uh-huh.
based on all that social media hype.
Uh-huh.
So
So
what
are
does
you saying that are you saying well you didn't mention anything about craft at all. You just said like no
well,
previous
right.
experience, which I don't care. Actually, that's viable. That's the way you should that's how social media should be used. If you're looking at social media and thinking to yourself, like just based on my attitude, my perspective, and my overall biasness towards these things that I believe in, and I expect to get hired off of it, you're wrong. But if you're looking at social media as to saying, like, hey, I think I have something to offer, I don't have too many notches on my belt, but I'm pretty good,
Right. Well,
right?
that's different. What I'm addressing is your first half of that, what
Which
you
is what?
just said.
Oh yeah, no, that's not gonna go anywhere. I don't know too many people who are incredibly toxically outspoken on social media and can bring on long-term sustainable work. There are plenty of people who have
Yeah, I guess
who are
okay.
already
Okay, long-term
pre-existing
sustainable.
professionals, right?
Yeah.
Who are already pre-existing professionals, and suddenly they went bonkers. You know,
Mhm.
suddenly they went like, "You're a kooky guy." You know, I don't know. I don't know why you're picking fights on social media when you should be doing everything that you can to prolong your career. Because especially in this new environment, where to your point, Shawn, a person who doesn't have notches on their belt but has the craft to kind of break in, right? Like to actually make some headway, where
Yeah,
that is now a viable way for them to get work, right? Those are the people you should be paying attention to. Those are the people that you should be
agreed.
like, I should not be on here as much as I should because I'm trying to prolong and extend my career. You want to know a board like an almost automatic way to sunset your career. Number one, number one, be on social media an awful lot, right? And talking all sorts of stupid, right? If you're not reminding people on social media of what you do, right? If at some point you're like, oh gosh, I can't think of something stupid to say, where it's just like, I hate whatever, blah blah blah. But also, look at my art. You need to be in art. You know, you need to be in like reminder mode all the time.
That's all. It's just business for me. It's
Exactly.
all art
Because
stuff.
I
I
gotta be
mean,
honest with you, nobody cares about your shit on social media.
well, I'm aware of that. That's why I don't
Nobody
do it.
cares.
Nobody cares about
Nobody
anybody's
cares
shit.
unless you give them something to care about. And the hot takes about anything, everybody has that shit,
Right.
right?
Right.
Everybody has, and that's the reason why it's so echo chambers are so comfortable because number one, people are so emotionally, psychologically weak. They don't have the courage and sort of like the self reassurance to stand on their own opinions. They need to have 50 other people tell them how right they are, right? Which is fucking gross. But
Mm-hmm.
also, it's like that's not what people follow you for.
Right. That's true.
They kind of follow you. They kind of follow you. They end up following you for that because you hold the same kind of perspective about the things that they hold perspective about. But at the end of the day, you pull them into your social media, whether it be Twitter, or Instagram, or Facebook, or what have you. Because if we're talking about like our group of peers, because they love your art.
Right.
You know, they happen to find out that you're funny or you're crazy, or
Right.
you're a lunatic, you're a fucking piece of shit. But like outside of that, they followed you. You know, whatever Shawn Crystal at Shawn Crystal, blah
At
blah blah.
Pulp. Yeah.
Yeah, they found you because they want to follow your art. They don't care
Right.
about your politics, you know,
Right. Well, also, I mean, I'm on there for business. That's why I'm on there.
for sure. And again, if you want to talk about a perfect way to sunset your career, be on there not for not business. By
Right.
the way, Caveat being, it's your time. Do what you want, right? Far be it for me to tell you
Absolutely.
what you need to do with your time or what you should do with your time. What I'm looking at is not like the awfulness that is Elon Musk the next year as people are trying to go crazy and trying to figure out what he's trying to do and hoping he crashes. Like if he crashes, what do you think will happen? Like
Right. Right.
you'll have to sell the place to somebody not you, right?
Right.
Who
And
do you
then
want to
the,
deal with?
and then you
The
can
monster
complain
that you
about that.
know or the monster that you don't, right?
Right. Right.
People
Yeah.
are they're so hung up on this thing that matters so much to them like not even asking yourself like why does this matter to you so much.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
always want to ask like it's by the way the answer to that is different for everybody. It
Yeah. Of
matters
course.
to me
Of
because
course.
of X, right? But generally it's because they're not getting their way. Generally they're
Yeah.
not
That's
getting their way.
true. That's very
Yeah,
true. I knew I'd get something out of you on that one.
I know, but I used up all my energy. I'm freaking sleepy as hell. Can I ask you something?
Yeah.
What kind of do you ever get negative feedback, negative for when we're doing these things? Shawn, your beard is too wiry. Eric, you didn't,
Well,
Eric
now I
didn't.
am. No. No.
I didn't mean that in earnest, but I'm like,
No. No. I haven't.
nothing like that.
No. Why?
Okay, listen. If you're listening to this podcast, can you, in the comment section, just give us something that we could be doing better? And by we, I mean Shawn, right? Can
Of
you
course.
just go down to the comment section and tell us, hey, you know what you could be doing a little bit better? Maybe it's a lighting, maybe it's a technical thing, Is the
Yeah.
sound not coming in well? Hey, you guys are
Yeah. Let us
better on the
know.
left than you are on the right, that kind of a thing. You know what I mean? Like switch
Yeah.
positions. Just
Yeah.
any old thing. I'd want us to get some helpful, critical, actionable feedback. Or if you just want to troll, go into the comment section
Yeah.
anyway and
Feel
do
free to
that
troll.
too.
And if there's anything you want us to talk about, let us know.
I'd love to hear from you.
Yeah. I'd love to
I'd
hear
love
that
to hear
too. I
from you.
mean, we're totally open to discussing stuff that's left in the comments. Makes for a good show.
And what's incredible to me is that you, as bullshit as we have been doing this show, I don't know how many of these we've done in 2022. Is it still 2022?
It is still.
Holy
We
crap, we're
got a month
barreling towards
left.
the end of
A
2022
month
already. It's
left.
2023 is soon. It's gonna be awesome. Anyway, I don't know how many that we've done this year, but it feels like it's a lot. But I bet you if we took tally, it's not enough.
No, it's not.
And most importantly, nobody has called you on your shit.
They haven't.
This is so stupid. I'd have done it a long time ago.
I will say that I don't get a lot of troll stuff on social media,
Hmm.
and I
Is it because
think
you're
it
so
has.
professional?
No, I just think it's because I don't invite it by like taking a stance on something that has nothing to do with anything. Like I
Yeah.
just present like, hey, here's some art. Here's what I was thinking. Maybe you can learn from
Right.
this or that,
Right. Right.
and it encourages engagement. But I
It
don't know.
sounds like what you're asking for is trolls. Is that what it is?
No, 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 no. I'm very
All
happy
right.
with the way things are.
All right. Just making sure because we could try to make that happen for you between
This episode
before end.
might start the new trolling of me,
I think so.
2023.
I can
Let's
only
troll
hope that
Shawn.
that's true.
Sure. I get enough
Okay. So
trolling at home.
speaking of 2023,
Yeah.
I'm thinking about
Oh boy.
streaming again, or at least doing. Can you hear my daughter going crazy in the background?
Mm-mm.
She is such a freaking. She's like a stick of dynamite, and I don't know when or who's gonna light her.
Where'd she get that from?
I don't know. Anyway, so anyway, I was thinking about street or doing episodic stuff at the beginning of the year,
Okay.
but the way my schedule is, as I bring up my daughter, the the only time I have to do it is at 4 a.m. Pacific.
It's
So
7 a.m. here.
7 a.m. Well, I'm not inviting you on. Jesus Christ, calm down. The hell, Shawn?
I'm putting it into perspective.
All right.
Go
Okay.
ahead.
So anyway, 4 a.m. my time, probably earlier than that because I need to like give myself time to ramp up into 4 a.m. And I think that's one of the main reasons why I'd realize, oh, this is probably not good live, but probably better as an episode, right? In which I premiere it and I can sit there in the background and talk to people as I'm doing whatever the heck I'm doing. Now, here's the thing. I want to commit to it,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't know how much gas I'll have in the tank by the time 2023 rolls around. I have to find gas, is what I'm saying. And the reason why, and this goes back to the earlier point that we were making in regards to our social media, I think it'll be critical for my business when it comes to like being a self-publisher and all of the stuff that I'm putting out. By the way, if you're interested, for those of you who are interested in supporting my book, Arc Athena, it's going to be out near the end of the year, beginning of 2021 or 2023. Excuse me. Pardon my time traveling machine.
Like, are you re-releasing 1 and 2? Are you releasing floppies, or are you releasing a
No, no,
collected
no.
edition?
I'm maintaining the hardcover because that's what I promise people when it comes to like the level of polish and prestige, right?
Right. Okay. Then let me rephrase that. You're
Yeah.
right. Are you still releasing the episodes separately, or the full collected edition at the end of
No, no, no. I'm gonna be really. It would be untenable as far as like shipping and handling is concerned if I did everything in the collected edition.
it? Okay.
So I'm gonna be
So are
making
you
book
gonna
one and book
re-release
two
1
available.
and 2? Okay.
Yep, book
Okay.
one and book two are still gonna be available. Book three is gonna be available, and I just heard from the printers. They're like, they go, oh, by the way, it's gonna get there on the 24th.
Of
And
December?
I said like Christmas Eve. That's weird. Like people
Yeah.
are.
Nothing's
I was
getting
hoping to
delivered.
get them sooner so that people can shop, into the holiday
Right.
season. But
Of
what are you
course.
gonna do?
Of
It's gonna
course.
take what it's gonna take.
It is.
What
Yeah.
I want to do, I honestly want to have all of them ready and available on the website before I offer them up to people. So it's like I don't need to worry about, and I told you I'm not crowdfunding anymore. Right? Like I
Right.
don't want to worry about like, oh, it's gonna be 3 months before the next one, blah blah. I just want to have it done, released, and
So
accessible to people.
you're gonna have all 6 of them out at
I
the.
want to. I don't.
Okay.
We shall see. As we're talking now, all book six is being colored,
Right.
and book five is going to be. We're going to do an edit pass on it, and then it's soon to be scripted because book four is done,
Okay.
and then finally book six. So we're chugging right along, and I'm tired of thinking about like, oh, and what schedule, what cadence am I going to release this on? Just a
Right.
plan. I don't want to think about it. No, and right now I'm so annoyed with crowdfunding platforms anyway in general. Not for anything else than to my own sort of like engagement with it makes me annoyed, right?
Oh, because
I
it's work. It's a
yeah,
lot
because
of
it's work.
work. Yeah.
It's a lot of work. I'm not cut out for it, so I'm just gonna like screw it. I mean, the work is done anyway. What do I need to crowdfund it for?
Right.
So yeah, I think that's going to be next year. But because I need to be able to talk about it, because I need to go on an awareness campaign or awareness tour, I need to be able to stream, or at the very least, come up with stuff that allows me to talk about it, so that people will pay attention and be like, "Oh, I get that. I know what it's about." And blah 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 blah. So that's the plan for 2023.
What is
And
your stream? Well, go ahead. Go ahead.
I mention it now because first, I think I'm going to use this opportunity to hold myself accountable. I said it online, and hopefully, I can live up to it.
Okay.
But also, my memory is failing like you wouldn't believe. So in my head, like, I wonder if I said that out loud. So I'll be able to go back and watch this episode.
Okay.
It'll probably be the only episode that I watch because I never watch this show after we record it.
Hey, why would you?
Yeah, I hate the sound of my voice. What was the thing that you were about to ask?
So your stream, like, is it just gonna be a come hang with Eric stream, or are you having a specific goal in mind with it?
See, you're asking all the right questions that I have 0% answers to.
All right, I'm just curious. You got time?
I think what I'm going to end up doing, because he's actually awake on that side of the world. I like our rapport. Is that the right term? I
Yeah.
like our rapport. I like our back and forth, right?
Yeah.
And I like it when I'm able to talk to somebody as I'm working on something, right?
Okay.
So because he's awake and he's on the other side of the world, my buddy John and Moore can actually keep me company, right?
Okay.
But I won't do it
He's in the
live.
UK. Is that where he is?
No, he's in the Philippines.
Oh, Philippines. Okay.
Surprisingly, he's in the Philippines and his internet is better than mine. Truly
Well,
annoying.
what time zone is that for him?
I don't know, man. He works late or he works early, depending.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
So 4 a.m. your time could be like 1 a.m. his time the day before earlier.
Day after. They're ahead.
Oh, they're ahead. Okay.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, so right now, let's see. I only have this on my phone for the sake of my mother. I have that world clock that tells me, all right, now's
Yeah.
the time to call. Okay, so it is now 5:30 local. It is 9:30 in Manila. No idea.
9:30 p.m. a.m.
AM,
a.m. Friday
Friday. Yep,
because it's
tomorrow. They're
Thursday
plus
here. Yeah.
16 hours ahead.
Okay. Okay. Well, shit. Okay then. And where do you know where you're gonna stream on? Like which platform? You can do it here in
I have
StreamYard and
Yeah,
like
well
push it
I
somewhere?
don't know, I'm kinda paying for a program called Ecamm, which is a native thing that runs on Macs. So I better take advantage of that shit.
Wait, what is it?
Called Ecamm Live. Have you heard of it?
Mm-mm.
Oh, it's awesome. We'll talk about it offline. It's
Okay.
freaking great. So
Okay.
here's the thing about StreamYard isn't really all that taxing when it comes to my desktop, right?
Uh-huh.
But Ecamm Live is optimized and made for Macs. So right now it's like I'm looking at my I'm looking at the CPU load and it's practically non-existent, it's practically flatline. But
Uh-huh.
Ecamm is even nicer when it comes to streaming live. It's not as much of a resource hog as a as an OBS
StreamYard.
maybe
Right.
or a StreamYard. StreamYard less, OBS definitely.
Okay.
But also things have changed dramatically since I had a desktop Mac. I was powered by an Intel chip as opposed to this M1, M2 that is proprietary to Apple now. There's a lot of tech talk. Are we a
Yeah.
tech talk?
I think I'm still on an Intel chip on my old machine here.
Yeah.
What about the machine you just sent me? Is that an Intel or is that an
Yeah.
M? Okay.
Do not run OBS on that bad boy. It will
What's
chug and just
OBS?
OBS is a open source broadcast software. Basically, what it's what all the
Twitch?
streamers use.
Oh yeah, I'm not. I
Yeah,
mean, look, I just paid for a year of StreamYard.
there you go.
So if I do anything, it'll be on here.
You should be good to go. You have all of your branding on here. Everything seems to be everything. Feels like it's everything that you could use and need, right? So that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's gonna be it for me next year. I think that's what I'm barreling towards. That's what I'm trying to set up. And most importantly, trying to answer the question that you just asked, which is like, what are you gonna do? The answer is,
Right.
I don't freaking know. You know.
Well, you don't need
Um,
to know. I mean, we didn't know what we were doing here, and it's been a good show.
Actually, that's a lie. I don't know if that how accurate that is. John Amore again asked me like, what if you were to describe what you and Shawn do on the podcast? What do you think it would be? And I said, I am in effect, not always, but from time to time, I am. Shawn is using that as his similar to when he used to talk to artists, person to person way back in the day.
And that's
It's
coming
sort of
back.
like
But go
Okay,
ahead.
it's sort of like Shawn's own personal therapy sessions, but he's bouncing these therapy ideas off of me,
Okay. Okay.
right? And I go like, and he go, and Shawn and John says, "Oh, I agree. I think Shawn sometimes talks out whatever that's he's going on in his head, especially when he's talking about his career, his perspective on like how to run his business. By the way, he got a lot of great information when you and I were talking about like making sure that you exist in your own ecosystem when it comes to your
Mhm.
brand and all your stuff. He got a lot of great value out
Oh,
of that.
good. Good. Good.
And so my I was like, yeah, I think that's what I'm there for. It's as if Shawn and I are went to a coffee shop for an hour and just chit chatted.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Shawn said like, let me buy you a coffee, but shut up, shut up, shut up. Let me talk. Like I got something on my mind, and I think yeah, that's about the capacity of our relationship on this
Okay.
this
Okay.
podcast.
All
Now I
right.
wanted to pick your. Is that true? Is that accurate?
I think that's part of the show
Okay. Because in my
because
heart, I feel like that's the entire show.
okay. I don't. I'd have to think on it, but
You
there's
disagree?
no. It's not that I disagree. I guess I'd have to put it to the test.
What was your intention when we were doing this?
I think when we first talked about doing it, it was gonna have and this could totally be my misperception. I thought we were gonna talk about craft.
Oh, well, that was dumb.
I
All
never
right, we can't talk about craft. Well, we tried to do that last
Yeah,
time,
we did
right?
that last time.
We said
Well,
it. We
I
said
just
like,
think what
hey,
happens is no
let's
matter
talk
what we
about craft.
do, you and I are good friends and have been for a long time, and we're just gonna fall into our comfortable conversation stuff.
Well, we kind of self edit because there's a lot of stupid like there's a lot of stuff that we don't end up talking about during the podcast because the stuff that we talk about offline, especially when it comes to like specific individuals, we kind of unleash. You know,
Yeah, that's true.
we have a good laugh on. We are at we have a discretionary filter on us right now because if we didn't, we'd make a lot of people feel bad. Not to say that we like
Yeah,
gossip like like a couple of chickens in a hen house, but certainly there are times I'm like, have you heard of what this dum dum said? You know?
right. Let me ask
Yeah,
you this along those
yeah,
lines. I've been wondering,
yeah.
like, if we were to talk critically of a piece of work,
Sure.
like let's say we talked about like having like what Dave did when he would critically
Dad,
discuss
come on.
the
You're
cover.
giving that. I can't remember what that was called. What was it called? What was that blog that he
What
had?
was that called? I mean, I don't remember what it was called.
And when you say Dave, for clarity, just for context, our good friend Dave Johnson used to have back in the day when blogs were the thing.
Yeah.
He kind of got because back then Dave was just one of the to this day still, but back then it was a big magnifying glass and spotlight on Dave as being one of the more premier guys when it comes to being a cover artist, right?
Mhm.
He's still got the chops now. The industry has just changed where they're not valuing Dave's work as much as what they used to.
Right.
It's a crime in and of itself, but also that's a podcast for another time. We'll
Okay.
bring Dave on. We'll talk to him.
Yeah. Okay.
But anyway, so back then Dave was using that sort of notoriety. Using might not be it, but he understood like, man, oh man, some of these covers can use a lot of like help, or he would just identify things within the context of those covers. That's really weird, you know. Um,
And he would
what
also applaud the
there.
successes of some too.
Oh yeah, sure, sure. I
Yeah.
mean, but in the beginning, he wasn't really leaning on the successes part because that's not what people were sort of like, you know, glomming on to, right?
Right.
Drama and negativity has a tendency to bring on more people so they everybody can go laugh at the or chicken neck at the proverbial traffic accident.
Right. Right.
So
Right. Right.
anyway, Dave would provide a bit of criticism, but for the most part, it was just like, how many more of these covers can we have Batman standing on a rooftop at the corner on a gargoyle kind of a thing?
Hmm.
That's not something that he invented. That's been a tried and true visual trope.
Sure.
But yeah, he brought that forward. I don't know, and the point that I was trying to make, I don't know if he ever got beyond just like the maybe my memory isn't serving me correctly. I don't know if he ever got just beyond going like this cover sucks. Like that level of
No,
that
he had
cosmetic
some
level.
real good critical analysis. I mean,
Did
I
he?
was a student at the time,
Okay. Tell
or
me.
maybe I wasn't a student, but I learned from it. I saw it as a great educational resource.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Well, we could definitely do that. Who do you want to pick on? I
No,
mean, who
no,
do you
but
want to pick on first?
my point is, if we were to do that,
Uh-huh.
okay, you can speak critically without being negative,
Oh,
but
I
is it,
can't. I
uh,
I
I'm saying there that exists. Like
Okay, yeah, yeah. You're saying
good
generally, not me
criticism isn't
specifically,
an
but
attack.
the royal you. Okay.
Right, right, right. The royal you. So, is it possible to have something like a podcast where you speak critically of work being done to this day and it
Hmm.
not eat you, like it not turn on you? Like you'd end up like talking about someone you know's work, and then
Yeah.
they're gonna are they gonna get pissed off about it? Are
Who
all their
knows? There's a
fans
lot
gonna
of
get
kooks out
defensive?
there, Shawn.
It just sucks. I mean, there's no real great critical uh, analysis of well, there's I shouldn't say no. There's none, but there's few
Yeah,
places where you can really go. I find criticism to be a great learning tool. As an
I
art
agree.
professor, I always said most of the learning happened in the critique.
Sure.
And
I agree.
it's just we live in a day where you can't speak critically. I mean, you can do whatever you want, but if you speak critically of
Hmm.
anything,
Yeah.
it's just people just want to fight and bicker.
Yeah, I don't know where that is. So first of all, like I have I have like a couple of things I want to talk about when it comes to something like that. Number one, I never think of myself as anybody who's like, what the fuck cares what I think about their work. You know what I mean? No, I will sit there and go like, I don't like the perspective, blah blah blah. Like, who gives a shit? Like, who am I? I'm not anybody in the mainstream. I'm not anybody who's has a level of notoriety. So I'm like, oh well, fucking Canete's talking about it. Let's go listen to what he has to say. And then
Right,
secondly,
but just
it aligns.
speaking negatively of something will get eventually the attention will come to you.
Yeah,
Anyway,
well,
go ahead.
that's the other thing is that when you refer to like the royal you, right? Sometimes I just like bombing on people, and then
Well,
just like
right.
a complete jerk when it comes to like that really sucks. But here's the thing, and I remember being on my buddy Michael DeNicola's stream once, and there are people who I hang out with offline, right? You're one of them, a guy by the name of Dave Tran is one of them. Dave is an amazing illustrator, and
Yeah, I know Dave.
I'm a huge fan of his. He's a good guy at the end of the day, right? Good
Yeah,
family man, good dad. Um, but my humor is so different, right? And you and I have what do you call it? Have hung out for such a long time that when I'm bombing on you the way I do, right? It's like Eric doesn't mean that in earnest, right?
no,
Like he doesn't
right,
just be that just because he says that he's trying to get a chuckle out of it, and he but
right,
I know at the end of the day, guy loves me. We can hang out, whatever. Like we can break bread, right? Same thing with Dave Tran. Same with the kind of people who I kind of like rib that way. I'm up for that kind of ribbing.
yeah,
I have a pretty good chin for it, or blah blah blah. But I think sometimes when I open up like that, right, especially when it comes to joking with somebody, people aren't accustomed to it,
yeah,
and I don't know where that comes from. Part I would guess, I'd bet good money that part of it comes from the fact that there's a generation right now where everybody always takes the position of like, you know, just be nice,
mhm.
right? And I'm like, I believe in that. I'm not saying just,
Yeah, I
I'm
believe in
just
that.
be a jerk, right? But there's a kind of humor that you and I throw at each other. Like, you see Dan do it all the time, right? Like we've
Yeah,
grown accustomed to that kind of ribbing. And sometimes
yeah,
it's like I see it on comedians podcasts sometimes, where I'm
mhm,
like, that's friggin' hilarious.
yeah, that's
But
what I
people
like.
think of those guys and they go like, those guys are fucking jerks.
Oh,
Like,
do
no,
they?
not
Oh,
really.
right, they're
Zero
not.
percent of that is said in true earnest where they
Right,
genuinely don't like the person, you
right.
know? Um yeah, anyway, so it's weird. Like, they were doing the on Joe Rogan's podcast, they were doing like the push-up challenge, you know. And who was it that was on there? Who is that big bear of a man?
Joey
That
Diaz or
No, the
Bert?
one that always ends up taking his shirt off during
Bert
his
Kreischer.
Bert, yeah.
Yeah.
And I remember they were just giving him such a hard time, saying like, "I can do so many push-ups right now, dude." He's like, "Do it right now." And at the end of it, I could see that guy's heart wanting to escape his chest because he
See,
was trying so
that
hard,
dude pushes his physical limits every day
It's
of his
weird,
life.
man. It's weird. But anyway, so they were very boastful at the beginning. By the end of it, he was just like gasping for air, like he just came out from he just came out from like a 50 league swim from out of the water. But the way they were ribbing each other came from a level of comfortability, right? It came from a space of like these guys have known each other for years.
Yeah.
They've done so many shows together, not just on the podcast itself, but obviously in the circuit in which they hang out with whenever they're out on the road, blah 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 blah. So they have a comfortability with each other that allows them to do all that kind of stuff. I don't think that we know too many people who we could do that with. And I also
Yeah,
don't think
that's
that
true.
culturally people are open to that kind of ribbing anymore, right?
Yeah,
And I'm not and
I
I don't it's not a coming from a place of like, well, maybe maybe we just shouldn't have that anymore. You know what I mean? Which I completely understand. Like Mickey Rooney, dressing up as a Coke bottle Chinaman from Breakfast at Tiffany's. Like you shouldn't do that anymore. Don't
right.
do that.
Agreed.
But like the kind of shit that we talk about, I don't think crosses that particular line. It's just that people aren't, to your point, they don't have a tough enough skin if we were to kind of rib
Right,
somebody of their work
right.
to be able to take it. Or at the very least, maybe not all of them, but we'd accidentally cross into one threshold where some guy would be so butthurt. because it is
Well,
art,
right,
right?
that's what I was saying. Yeah, like
Right, because it is art, and it's so very personal for some
right,
people,
and it is completely subjective.
Yep, yeah,
Sure,
and that's the thing.
sure.
It's like,
But what we could do is we could rib on Mateo's work all day on this show, and we'd be
that's all day.
fine.
That's pretty much 50 episodes straight. That'll keep us afloat 52 weeks. That's an all year kind of a thing. Speaking of Maddie, shouldn't we bring him on one of these
Yeah,
days?
yes, we have to. I need to work on getting some guests on here. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it'd just be fun to be able to hang out. And I know that guy can hang. You know what's amazing about Matt is that back in the day, he just used to defer to telling us like to go fuck ourselves, and you know what I mean? And at first I thought, oh, it's because like he doesn't understand our humor. You know what I mean? He knows
Oh,
that we're making fun of him, right?
right.
But then I realized his English sucked. So he
Right.
could, so
Well,
he
let's put suck in
so
perspective. I
so he
mean, I can't
couldn't
speak
keep
any Italian.
so he couldn't like keep up
Right, right. The
with the
speed of it.
conversation.
Right,
You
right.
know what I mean? Like he couldn't rib as quickly as possible. And in 1 year, he turned the corner, and I was like,
I remember this.
wow, look at that. You're not just talking about, like how small my penis is or whatever. Like he
Right,
wasn't going down that route of like, that's so obvious. That's so fucking easy.
right,
It's like
right,
the
right.
lowest hanging, smallest fruit.
Dude, he had me on the floor in New York.
I think what happened is that he started watching so many of these stand-ups and so many of these
He said that.
of
He
these
said that.
shows,
Yeah, yeah,
you
yeah.
know?
He told me
And I
that.
really felt like, oh, his delivery. We're talking about him like he's a child who suddenly learned math, but like his delivery now for his jokes and his comebacks is amazing. He even initiates it. It's freaking amazing. He's not just
Yeah.
on his back foot all the time.
No, he's hilarious.
It is to
He's
say that I
absolutely
love
funny.
that guy and I love
Yeah,
his art. And it
absolutely.
would be awesome to be able to chit chat with him, not just about like the things that he's find somewhat successful, because he's grown so much over the years,
Oh
like
my god. Yeah.
artistically,
Yeah,
right?
wow.
Because
Wow.
he really, really fucking sucked when we first started hanging out. I mean, it's awful. Like he had zero voice. He had no idea where he was going. If you gave the guy a map, he'd still run off a cliff. You know what I mean? Like he just had no idea where to take his art. But then something happened, and I want to know what it was. Like I want him to be able to tell that
Yeah,
story of
I'd
like
like to have that conversation
I woke
very
up
much.
and I started getting good, right? And I can't remember what I was looking at where I was like, holy crap, what did you do? Because for the longest time, he was sort of like still searching for that part of him. So this is a great subject matter to be able to talk about.
Yeah. Yeah, we should get
He
him
was
on.
searching for that part of like something that needed to click. And a lot of artists are you can tell that they're good, but the exceptional is so very subjective. Any
Right.
art talk is subjective, but some people who turn the corner, and we can do this with like everybody who we admire as well. And I think as critical as we may be in the very beginning of their body of the work potentially, we can point the moment that they turn the corner, we're like, we think this work right here
Mhm.
is when Adam Hughes became
Yeah,
the Adam
dude,
Hughes.
that was like my favorite shit to like spend time with when I was in art school, is just digging up like
Yeah,
everything I could find of Mike Mignola
yeah,
and looking at where, like, putting it in order and looking at the development and where the corner was turned.
yeah. I love that
I
stuff.
mean, I remember Kevin Nolan, I went on a deep dive with that one.
Yeah,
Back to that Fantagraphics series he did. Ah, fuck, I wish I remember the name of it.
I want to say Clint Eastwood's daughter, but it's not. It's called Grimwood's daughter.
Yeah,
Right? Have you
Grimwood's
seen that
daughter. Yeah,
before?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So going from that to, like, where he was with Batman Black and White blew my mind.
What's interesting is that if you were to go back to Kevin Nolan's like discography, I don't know what it says, like comicsography. I don't know what it's called. It's got to
Library?
be a term for it that needs to stick, right? But when you look at his like body of work, I
Mhm.
remember the thing that made me go, "Who the hell is this guy?" Was Batman and the Outsiders.
Yeah, oh, that was a good one.
I think that was for me, and I don't know how good he was previous, but that was when I started
That
paying
was a
attention.
big turn. That was a big turn.
And I
It
think,
was
did he have full control of that, or who was coloring him then?
No, no,
Because
he
he was
was
doing
coloring. I'm pretty sure he
okay.
colored himself on that.
because he got like the primo paper on that book,
Yeah, and
right?
he
That was
may
like
have
that
lettered that
nice
one.
prestige DC
Yeah,
glossy paper, and color actually held up.
yeah, yeah.
It didn't get soaked up by like the
The
newsprint. I
newsprint.
remember there was a prestige line of DC comics, and it was not all like it because it made it almost cost ineffective price per
Mhm,
issue, right? Where people
mhm.
didn't really buy it, but when you held it in your hand, you're like, this is really freaking nice paper, and that's why color held up. Anyway, point is, when I saw that Kevin Nolan issue, and it was early in my comic book sort of like collecting career, somebody actually traded me for it because if you remember, it was an annual. I think it was an
Yeah,
annual,
it was
and
an
it was like a
annual.
number one. And
Yeah,
somebody who just collected number ones in my like my pal's brother, he just
uh-huh.
collected number ones. When he saw number one on anything, he'd get excited over it, right?
Okay,
But
okay.
he traded me for that. I can't remember what he traded me for, but I remember getting that and going like, "Geez, Louise, what is this?" Because it's borderline just like basic. He kept it to like 5 colors or 7 colors or some shit
Mhm,
like that,
mhm,
right? And
mhm,
it was so powerful, and it was also flat color for the most
mhm,
part, right? Because he had done so much work rendering form and volume and
mhm.
lighting that he didn't need to get super fancy with the he didn't need to get too fancy with the
Right,
coloring,
right,
right, to help explain whatever the situation was. So it would be so much fun to kind of go back and look at like here's here's that turn. But here's the thing. Here's where the challenge of that. That would mean I would have to like go back and find books, you know? Which I have zero interest in going back and finding like floppies or whatever. I hope
right.
that if we go down this path, if we need to set this up early because obviously it's going to take a little bit of coordination and like digging and researching.
Yeah,
But like, I hope that some of this stuff is available digitally because I want to be able to look through it and be like,
yeah,
dude, this thing right here, Bill Sienkiewicz made a turn like right here.
right.
This is the and we could potentially not even agree on when that turn was, right?
Totally.
Yeah,
Well, for me, I've got um 5 short boxes of comics.
that's
It's
so
and
gross.
but all it is what we're talking about. I saved the comics library of a handful of artists.
Yeah,
So, like, I've got Kevin Nolan up there.
yeah,
I've
yeah.
got Mignola up there. So, I've got some artists where I have the material.
Yeah, that's cool. I remember as an aside, I was driving home for I can't remember where it was from where it was, but I was thinking about, hey, I wonder if I can pick up buying comics again, like the actual floppies, right? And I realized I have no interest. I remember leaving when I left California, I took all of my long boxes and just put them in the recycle bin, like each and like my entire collection of X-Men, my entire collection of everything that I'd ever bought, and I thought like this is a series I'm gonna hold on to. All of that stuff
Mm.
went into the recycle bin, and thankfully, I take a little bit of like, oh, that's cool. You know what I mean? Thankfully, within a day or two, somebody took all of those
Oh,
boxes and they were
good,
gone.
because I was gonna say, when I
Right?
moved and did that, I didn't dump it in the recycle bin. I found a young, like, comics fan and gave him everything.
Yeah. Yeah. I think somebody took, I mean, I don't know if they ultimately they ended up keeping it for themselves or flipping it and turning it into something else. I just like, as I was putting them in there, because I just knew there was no way for me to maintain that collection in such a way that would be like that doesn't make any sense. I wouldn't have any room for it, blah blah blah.
Mhm.
Blah.
Yeah,
And really at that point I had fallen out of love of collecting comics and just like comics in general. I
yeah,
didn't really as nostalgic as I was flipping through those boxes, I didn't really feel any sort of like connection to them anymore. So it was I think that was a key indicator for me
yeah,
to be like, let me put this away.
yeah,
Now,
I feel like
looking
the
back,
collector in me was
I
gone.
don't have any regret doing that. Um, but I also the thing that I really am nostalgic about are the stories that I got out of the books. I just knew the practical side of me was like there was no way I was going to be able to protect this stuff anymore, you know?
Right, and you can probably
So
get it all digitally now.
absolutely. And that's what I've been doing now is like whenever I think of something of like bulks of runs of something, I'm all like,
Mhm.
"Ooh, I haven't read that in freaking forever." Download it and read it on my iPad, you know?
Well, that's cool. So, what do you use Comixology?
Whatever it is that's attached to
Amazon?
that yeah.
Yeah, it's Comixology, I think.
No, it's not. It's got to be like the Kindle. It's like the Kindle app that I use. Is that the same thing?
Yeah, I think comics out, or maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. I don't read comics.
I whenever I'm buying this stupid thing, it always says like, here's the Kindle version of it, and when I launch it, it's on that Kindle app. So
Right. I just remember way back when Comixology was young, I subscribed, but I would have to. It had something to do with Amazon, where
it
like
is,
I would
yeah.
have to buy it on Amazon and add it to my library. It was a very clunky process.
That's dumb. That's
Yeah.
clear. We can talk about that next time. How
Okay.
annoyed I am that there are no people in the mainstream comic book industry that had enough future planning into them not to realize we're moving into this. We're going to eventually not just move into this direction,
They still don't get it. They still
but
don't get it.
yeah, we should bring on a handful of people who'd be able to talk about that. But I have my own biases why they have. I have my own sort of like opinions on why they haven't done it. Right, like
Yeah.
part of it is like maybe they didn't want to piss off comic book store owners, but you're like, geez, Louise, that's
Well,
prohibitive right
right. That
there.
was a silly, but I think that is part of it.
Yeah,
And part of me is like, that's great. You're showing some loyalty to those who supported you this whole time, but we all have to grow and move forward now.
I
We can't
agree.
stay stuck. But
I
yeah,
agree.
we've reached an hour, I know. But
Let's do that.
I just two things I watched that I regret watching lately.
Okay. Yes, please bring me into your joy. Bring me into.
Thor: Love and Thunder.
You watch that? Okay.
I watched it and
Uh-huh.
I wish I didn't.
Why?
And
What did you do?
it was just really bad. It was really bad.
Was it bad?
It was bad.
Was it
It
bad? Let me
was.
try to think of it.
Did you see
Okay,
it?
I did. I did. And truth be told, full disclosure, I like when Endgame came out and it ended the way it did. I thought, thank you very much. Um, and I haven't been able to engage with Marvel movies as
They
feverishly as I used to.
they haven't been of the quality that could engage you. It's
Yeah.
almost like the movie industry
Yeah.
is taking cues from the comic book industry on how to make it suck now.
Come
That's what it feels
on.
like, because I also watched, and I don't know why I did this. It was a lunch break one day, it was a half hour or so long, that
Okay.
Guardians holiday special.
And it wasn't any good?
It was beyond awful. It was beyond bad.
Okay, I haven't seen that one yet. But
Just don't, just don't.
I
But
I
I'm just gonna
yeah.
leave you with this question. They've
Yeah.
taken Thor and the Hulk
Mhm. Mhm.
and turned them into goofy, stupid characters.
But here's the thing. Let's be fair, okay? Let me play devil's advocate to that. It wasn't as if they had super successful expressions of those characters to begin with, right? Like the first Thor movie that was by Kenneth Branagh, he tried to turn it into a Shakespearean sort
Right,
of like
right, right, right.
love fest, right?
Right, right,
And
right, right,
it
right,
wasn't very good, nobody
right.
could make that
You're right.
character work,
He worked in the
or at
context of
least
the
in the
Avengers.
yeah, but that's a cast, right?
Right. Well, the Hulk never had his own movie. I
But
mean,
that's
before the
well,
Marvel Universe shit.
yeah, yeah, not in the hope that we come to again. It wasn't like those things were doing gangbusters by way of story. Maybe maybe by way of ticket sales, right? Like it
Mhm.
was okay, but it was definitely like when you like when when Iron Man came out, right? And then when Captain America finally found his footing after Winter Soldier, right,
Yeah,
which is the second
which
Captain
was
America
good.
movie,
Yeah, yeah, that was a
right?
good one.
Like
Yeah.
it understood what it was. I don't
Right.
think Thor or
Ever
the
Yeah, you're
Hulk could,
right.
right?
You're
So
right.
when you have a success that is Ragnarok,
Yeah.
and you're like, oh, that's kind of cool, right? Because that's a
Yeah.
different take on Thor.
And
But I
I
think what
enjoyed that one.
happened
I enjoyed that one.
again, yeah,
I
yeah,
enjoyed
yeah,
that one.
because I think it still had like grand this big stuff that was happening on another, on Asgard. It was still sort of like these big stakes, right?
Right, right.
Here's a big demon Surtur coming in. He's gonna kill all of Asgard. Blah blah blah. Like all of these things. Like it was still a big story that
Mhm.
happened to have like comedic beats into it. I watched Love and Thunder, and
Oh, you did?
it's like all comedy. It's all sort of
Yeah.
like
It's
it's like haha jokes the entire time. You know what
Yeah,
I mean?
really
And
bad.
so, and I think, so, and I'm not saying anything new. There's plenty of people who have actually critically tried to break down why Love and Thunder doesn't work. And one of the bigger
Right.
takeaways, and I can't remember, I give them credit if I can remember who actually said it, was that when you have that much comedy trying to run alongside, this like imminent threat
Yeah.
that is I can't even remember which Christian Bale's character is, which goes to show,
God
right? Like,
Butcher. But I
yeah,
remember
yeah,
that
yeah.
from the comic, but go ahead.
Right, right. But like the fact that you're trying to make that comedy work, run alongside this very specific
Really dark. I mean,
impending doom.
yeah,
Yeah,
really dark.
yeah.
It just
It takes a special sort of like craftsman to be a storyteller to be able to do that.
yeah, well, this didn't happen.
It isn't that at all.
Well, my big problem is, and we're gonna end on this note, my biggest
Yeah.
problem with the movie is the Zeus's prop weapon.
Which one? The lightning bolt?
Mhm. So stupid. Looked
I
stupid.
know. Like
Just looked like a bad movie prop. No
but like
design
it
to it.
hasn't like a lot of I haven't seen Wakanda Forever yet, but like
I
hasn't
haven't
a
seen that
lot
either.
of recent Marvel movies have like a bad movie prop
I don't
feel
know.
to it? And like,
Not like that.
okay, all right, but I mean, like, I feel like that obviously that's a very broad generalization. But I think like they cross a threshold in which like this doesn't this is not of a polish that that they have set up for themselves, you know. And I'm looking at because the entire thing was silly, right? Them going up to it wasn't Olympus, it was like some secret club in the
Yeah, it
sky,
was
right?
like the God's secret area. It
Yeah,
had
yeah,
a
yeah. But
name.
it's like you look at some of the designs on the other gods, you're like, they look
Uh,
freaking amazing,
yeah. Okay.
right? They
Yeah.
look
Yeah.
great, you know.
Uh-huh.
And you get to Zeus, who is this,
Oh, just
you get to like you get to a Russell Crowe that physically does not
not the
look
gladiator.
imposing. Yeah, yeah, he's just not gladiator version of him. It feels like because he was wearing that specific armor, it feels like a guy cosplaying
Yeah.
Russell Crowe
And
from like,
that lightning prop goes right along with the cosplay.
yeah, but that's what I mean, right?
Yeah,
Like it's like
terrible.
I feel like they set themselves that he couldn't understand what it was in the midst of all of this. Oh, look at this cool ass scene where the rams are dragging the ship. They couldn't help but put those stupid ram noises in
Oh,
because they thought it
the
was so
goats.
freaking
Yeah, that was
hilarious.
so dumb.
Yeah.
So dumb.
It is. It is like I think I may have watched it twice only
Oh my
because
god.
I watched it twice only because the wife wanted to see it,
Oh,
and
okay.
then she was like, this isn't fun," and she likes Taika's movies. We really
I like
enjoyed.
Taika's stuff. I do. I
We
mean,
really enjoyed Jojo Rabbit. Jojo
I
Rabbit's
love
freaking
Jojo
amazing.
Rabbit,
Yeah,
and What We Do in the Shadows is very popular in my house.
absolutely,
It's
absolutely.
hilarious.
Yeah,
It's hilarious.
yeah.
I like Taika's stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I just don't think that yeah, Thor wasn't one of the better offerings. But again, I don't point to him, although yes, some of that stuff should land, some of the responsibility and onus should land on his doorstep. But I really think when you really think about it, you have to understand, or you have to have strong stewardship and strong leadership in place. Right? That script doesn't go out because Taika said whatever I want can go out the door. Whatever I want
Right.
can get made into a movie.
Right.
Somebody was saying like, yeah, that's a good idea, and not realize, hey, there's a line, and I think you've crossed way over it in
Mhm.
regards to this script.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, all right. That's a good place to end. Let me run the outro, and we can call it an evening. Thanks again, Shawn. Here we
Thank
go.
you. This is the INKPULP podcast. This is the INKPULP podcast. Comics, hip hop, life. Yo.